They are the gray and the gold, military muscle and economic might, the dual backbones of a superpower. On a mission off the coast of Virginia, the USS George Washington is one of 12 supercarriers that delivers the military might of the United States across the globe. While inland, behind the barrier of the Appalachian Mountains, the impenetrable vault of Fort Knox, Kentucky sits behind walls and barbed wire, surrounded by thousands of soldiers ready to defend America's gold. Now we join the crew of the USS George Washington and the soldiers of Fort Knox for a rare view of two American fortresses of sea and land on No Access, Fort Knox and the Washington. The North Pacific, a 24-story airfield, makes her way to the port of Seattle. For her sailors, it's home. But for thousands of visitors who've lined up early, it's a rare chance during one of the Navy's fleet weeks to stand atop a carrier.
I've always wanted to be on an aircraft carrier all my life, and so we're here. We got up at 4:30 this morning so we could be one of the first groups on.
My girls, they're 8 now, and they never had a chance to be on one, and my son wants to be a flyboy for the Navy, and our grandfather was, so it's a perfect opportunity.
The carrier is a fascination that transcends generations. Since the days of World War II, when flat tops helped decide the war in the Pacific, the carrier has held a special appeal for Americans. And for carrier fans, no event is more special than the birth of a new one. July 21st, 1990, thousands of well-wishers turn out to see First Lady Barbara Bush christen CVN-73, the USS George Washington. At a cost of nearly $3 billion, she is the most advanced carrier ever built. She joins a carrier fleet that has been the backbone of the U.S. Navy for over 60 years. By international law, these mammoth vessels are sovereign United States territory. They are also the deadliest pieces of real estate on Earth. Self-sustaining nuclear-powered cities, they are the length of almost 4 football fields, weigh 100,000 tons fully loaded, carry up to 6,000 crew, over 75 planes, and as much as 2 million pounds of bombs and ammunition. Their jets can destroy entire air forces and armies, delivering rockets, missiles, and laser-guided bombs. It is these floating airfields that are the muscle of the United States Navy. November 2001. Since the start of the war on terrorism, visits aboard an active carrier have been highly restricted. But now, as her sailors prepare for possible deployment to the Middle East, No Access boards the USS George Washington for her crew's first training mission since the attacks of September 11th. The purpose of these exercises will be to keep the GW in top fighting form and ready for a battle that could come at any time. In the forecastle, the forwardmost part of the ship, the crew raises the massive twin anchors and prepares to get underway. It is a slow and careful job. Each link in the anchor chain is heavy enough to crush a crew member. Next, the crew retracts the rope lines that moor the ship to the dock.
Oh, this is First Lieutenant. We set up through the South Harbor Falls to Pierce. We take in line 1 as briefed.
All stations have these single up our lines.
What I'm doing now is I'm looking out through my vantage point to see that the lines as they're being called up on deck so I can report it to the bridge. Line 5 singled up.
The mammoth carrier, now free from her moorings, slowly makes her way out of the harbor. The George Washington is underway, but she is operating with only part of her crew and an empty hangar bay. The air wing, stationed elsewhere at air bases, will arrive only once the George Washington is safely out to sea Pilot Roger Welch is the commander of the Air Group, in charge of Air Wing 17.
Well, every carrier needs an air wing as the power projection or the strike piece of the battle group commander's arsenal. An air wing, and there's 10 of them or so in the Navy, is larger than most countries' air forces completely.
As the crew prepares for the Air Wing's arrival, hundreds of sailors comb the deck and hangar, searching for FOD, flying object debris, that could be sucked into a jet engine or cause a tire to blow out. Then, a deafening roar signals the arrival of the first jets. Air wings normally number up to 75 planes and 2,700 men and women. For these exercises, only part of the wing will be on board. Lieutenants Christian Myra and John Frazier are among the 300 arriving today. They fly the F-18 Hornet.
Flying a high-performance aircraft like the F-18, it's really hard to put into words. You can be at 500 feet and decide you want to go to 30,000 feet, and within a minute or two you're up there and do pretty much whatever you want.
Flying the Hornet is a lot like a $45 million video game out there. I can put that jet anywhere I want. I can point at anything I want. I can drop a bomb on anything I want. I can shoot anything I want. And it's real comforting to know that our nation has provided us the best tools for our job.
It's a job that has taken on an even greater importance since September 11th. On that day, it was the USS George Washington that was called upon to protect New York Harbor in the hours after the terrorist attacks.
Within an hour of the attack on the Pentagon, we received word that we would embark and proceed up to the New York City area and provide the coastal defense.
The next morning, we arrived off the coast of New York City, and you can see in this picture here the George Washington with the city of New York in the background, and the smoke plumes there are what remains of the World Trade Center.
Since September 11th, the tempo in the squadron has picked up a little bit, but that's only because we know that within the year, we are going to do something that's going to help the country. It makes the training that much more important, and it puts a little more emphasis into each thing that we do. I know the country is counting on us, and now each flight I know is helping me get better for when it's my turn to go out there.
That training is critical for carrier pilots.
Being an aviator in any capacity is challenging. Add to that a landing area that's the size of an aircraft carrier. You're talking about a pretty tough aviation environment. So, first of all, you have to be able to want to be a pilot, and second of all, you have to be crazy enough to fly an airplane on and off the ship.
One of the toughest challenges of taking off from an aircraft carrier is its short runway. Jets must reach takeoff velocity in just 300 feet. That's almost 90% shorter than the runway length they require on land. The solution? A steam-powered catapult that literally blasts the jet down the carrier's deck. In just 3 seconds and 100 yards, the jet goes from 0 to 150 knots. Firing the planes off the deck is the job of the catapult officers. Their office is the bubble, a cramped green-windowed room sunken into the flight deck. Lieutenant Mark Creasy is one of these men with 50,000 pounds of thrust at their fingertips. They call themselves the shooters.
Okay, right now we have aircraft on catapult 1 and 2. We're setting up each catapult for the type of aircraft and the amount of wind we have over the deck. We're going to shoot catapult 1 first. Shoot 405.
18 knots on Cat 1.
18 knots, panel 1, 8 knots, 1, 8 knots.
2 men out, thumbs up, military. Wind's good, crosswind good.
When everything's good to go, the pilot salutes the shooter.
Salute.
And we send the plane flying.
Good on max, everything for flaps, tails, pins, jigging.
That pilot's salute is more than just a sign of military respect.
When I give a salute on the catapult, it means I'm trusting my life into 30 or 40 people that were involved getting my airplane launched. That's my final salute, that I trust them and that I'm ready to go.
There's a very unique relationship between the pilots and the maintainers. When they turn that jet over to that pilot knows they're going to go have a good flight, get their training done, or get their mission done.
Those guys are our bread and butter. They make sure that the jet is all right for us to get into, and we really count on them. I mean, our lives are in their hands. You sit there and you go through all your checks, and you finally give the shooter the salute.